How quickly a bright, sunny spring day can shift into a dull, frustrating disappointment. Everything seemed perfect in the morning. By lunchtime, I bought a car with my own hands, and it was running smoothly. Honestly, probably the best purchase I've ever made, but let me backtrack a bit. Our family's small, just the two of us, no kids. When we first got married, we lived in my place, and then my parents left me an old house they had in the suburbs. The commute to work was a hassle, so after some back and forth, we decided to sell it. My wife insisted, and with the proceeds, we managed to buy a one-bedroom apartment right in the city centre. Modern, convenient, everything we wanted. The car was next on the list. Isabella had finally passed the driver's exam, on her 5th attempt at least, and now she was constantly nagging me about it. I gave up. It was a great deal for us, and it was also Isabella's birthday. An hour later, I was in a great mood. They let me off early from work today. I said when Isabella picked up the phone, "What about you?" "We're running late," she replied irritably. "Just don't make me angry. Choose a restaurant. I'm not in the mood to cook." The road ahead seemed clear, and I was confident I could drive the car into the yard without anyone noticing, making it a nice surprise for tomorrow. Having skillfully avoided the usual traffic jams of the city in the car I just bought from a friendly reseller, the gift was nearly home. But then, as if fate had a joke to play, the car stalled right at the entrance to our yard. It just refused to start. Of course, the seller's phone. Silent as ever. 40 minutes of struggling with the old thing had me at my wits' end, but then, out of nowhere, help arrived. A young guy bounced out of our building with a cheerful step. For a split second, I couldn't help but picture him alongside the neighbour from the 5th floor, the one always visited by young men like him. She was a widow, living the high life, taking everything she could from the world. I couldn't help but smirk at the thought. As soon as I turned towards the car, some liquid splashed in my face. Cursing softly, I wiped it away with the back of my hand. "Need some help?" the guy suddenly asked, pulling up next to me. "Can you?" I shot back, half annoyed. He nodded and quickly shed his leather jacket, tossing it onto the car's hood. "I'm actually a mechanic by trade, though I haven't worked in a while," he chuckled. My suspicions about the neighbour seemed to be spot on. Fire girl. Half an hour later, after much effort, the stranger delivered his verdict. "You were treated like the last fool." And to be honest, I couldn't even call it a car anymore. It looked more like a bucket of rust and bolts on the wheels. "Let's give it one last shot," he said, rolling up his sleeves, now blackened with grease. "If it doesn't start this time, we're calling a tow truck." As he worked, I mentally added up what cash I had left in my wallet, wondering if I could afford a new shirt for this guy, my new mechanic. "All right," hopping behind the wheel, came the voice from under the hood. "Hold up. Let's grab a smoke first, then we'll give it another shot." I reached for my bag in the back seat. "I don't smoke," the guy replied in a casual tone. "My girlfriend doesn't like it. And my wife, too," I replied. He shrugged his shoulders. "Life, right." "How long have you been together?" I asked, curious. "I haven't seen you here in the last 4 months. I don't usually bring women here," he explained. "It's complicated." I tell her, "Move in with me." And she doesn't want to live with a colleague. He says that renting an apartment is just cheaper. He spread his hands in a gesture of impotence. I felt an unpleasant sensation. His words affected me more than I expected. Who is this guy? I thought, but a thought flashed through the back of my mind. I patted him on the shoulder and turned back to the hood. Okay, on the count of 3, roll back. I quickly inserted the key into the ignition, and in the next couple of minutes, 2 miracles happened. First, the car came to life. Secondly, my wife's familiar voice rang through the air. "Zai, what are you doing here?" I recognized that voice right away. Well, the surprise was gone, and it was time to take responsibility. I got out of the car, shook invisible dust off my hands, probably because of nerves, and opened my mouth to explain the situation with my gift. But he froze before he could say anything. "Yes, I decided to help," my new acquaintance managed to say before I could say anything. Then there was a clear sound, a kiss, and silence. "Well, you helped, kind man," I thought, taking 2 steps forward, bypassing the open hood. My wife was standing in someone's arms. What the hell is this? Righteous anger rose from the depths of his soul. At that moment, I was like a bull, ready to rush at the red rag. I don't even know how it would have ended if it hadn't been for the mechanic. "Calm down, kid, or I'll calm you down. You've already cooled my wife's ardor. Are you going to cool me down now? Are you a mechanic or a cook?" The guy did not understand, turning to my wife. "Are you married?" She nodded awkwardly. "Well, then it's clear." The guy grabbed his jacket and walked away. A few steps, the sound of a car opening, and now the new Toyota is driving away. I threw my wife the keys to the things I had bought. She caught them and shrugged. What could she do? "You misunderstood. This is a colleague from work." Isabella tried to justify herself. "Did you tell them the same thing about me?" I spat on the ground and went home. "I'm filing for divorce." "I'll pick up my things on the weekend, just don't throw them away." The spouse added and ran away, dialing someone's number on the way. In the evening, she returned home in tears and asked for forgiveness. Her lover turned out to be either smart or too touchy, and he immediately kicked her out without even letting her into the house. But in the end, it was still a divorce. I got an apartment, and my ex-wife got a car. 3 months later, she had an accident on it. Well, at least this rusty barrel turned out to be a good life lesson for me.